Welcome to the Global Businesswomen's Pod, brought to you by the Greater Houston Women's Chamber of Commerce. I am Susan Dyson and proud to be the CEO, President, and founder of the Chamber. Please join us for this empowering podcast every Thursday at 6 p.m.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm CATHY, REINHOLD, business coach of Houston, and really happy to be here today with MELANIE Johnson as co-owner of Elite Online Publishing. So we're ready to get started and jump right in. MELANIE, tell us about how you got here today.
Oh my gosh, it's been a long journey that took me into the publishing industry. So I started back in Detroit as a news anchor, and then got into television that way, and then came to Houston. And coming from Michigan, they call you, if you stay too long, you become a damn Yankee. So that's what I've become, as a damn Yankee, because I've been here ever since 1991. And so started Channel 51, KNWS, from scratch, from the ground up, produced television shows there, sold advertising, ran the company, and then we bought another station up in Dallas, so we had two TV stations. So running a $100 million business was super exciting, and at that time, TV was it, man. I mean, the internet wasn't around. It was barely around. Social media wasn't around at all. So in the 90s, you're just crushing it. You're one of the main media outlets back then. And then life changes. And then my life changed, like a lot of people does. You go through transition. And then my marriage ended, and then he filed for bankruptcy. And I had these two huge houses that I had to turn into something because I was going to lose my houses. And Airbnb didn't exist, but VRBO had just started, so I started renting those houses and turned them into six-figure businesses, and that's how I made my living for a short period of time while I was fighting him in bankruptcy. I was renting my houses, and then life changed again. The bank finally took the houses, and then I was homeless and unemployed again. So I had to start over and reinvent myself, and got into some real estate development, and then really was interested in the internet, digital marketing. I just thought TV was going to be passé, and everyone could have their own TV channel on YouTube. Like I have my own channel, our company has their own channel. So I really wanted to learn about that. And then through that process, I met my business partner, Jen Foster. We both learned how to publish books. We thought it would be fun to do a book writing retreat. I had these villas down in the Dominican Republic. And so we did a book writing retreat, thought it'd be this fun one-off thing that we would do and maybe be a side hustle we do like once a year. But then I came back and people were asking to meet me for lunch or coffee and say, I didn't know you published books. Can you talk to me about publishing your book? So I told Jen, gosh, I think we have a business here. Maybe we should create an LLC. And actually one of the first things we did was create a podcast. And nobody even knew what a podcast was back then. So we created a YouTube channel, a podcast channel, and we put our stuff on every social media channel because we were taught to be everywhere. So that's kind of how I ended up in the publishing business. I've been here for 8 years and made over 300 authors, bestsellers, and we've worked with business owners, mostly nonfiction books, but we do some fiction books and some children's books as well.
Very cool. I knew a lot about you, but there were some new things for me to learn about you there.
Yeah.
So having been your business coach for a couple years, I know marketing is really at your heart, and you work really hard at staying new and up on it. So talk to us a little bit. Are you using artificial intelligence?
Oh my gosh, Kathy, I'm obsessed with artificial intelligence. Since it happened last January, I realized we've been using artificial intelligence 2 years before that. Actually, it was 2.5 years. We started using Jasper.io 2 years before anyone was talking about AI. And it's one of the tools we still use today, but then we jumped into ChatGPT, and there's some other tools we're using that I'm going to share with you that are really just going to blow you away. So Jasper, what that does is it has a bunch of different options you can pick from. So like it has a menu, so to speak. Has a menu. What we use a lot is the content improver. So for instance, you might be writing an email to somebody and you'll put the paragraph in and you're like, this just sounds so dry. And then you'll say, make this fun and happy and tell a joke in it. And it will rewrite it for you. But the one I like is like, make it sound like Ryan Reynolds, or write this in the voice of Oprah, and it rewrites it in the voice of Oprah. But also in Jasper, it'll make Facebook ads for you, content, headlines, a bunch of different things like that. And then this is really a deep, dark secret, but if you're a marketer, you are going to love, love, love this. Actually, when we get a copy of this video podcast in our company, I'm going to use this tool. I was in our mastermind today, and I shared this with one of the people in our mastermind group, and he's like, I'm a podcaster, I'm overwhelmed, I can't handle it. I'm going to have to hire somebody to come on and create all these other videos for me. So we have a tool that takes your long form video, like if you have a YouTube video, and you upload it into this tool, it will create multiple videos for you edited with the hook title, with a catchy title to it, and it'll add all the sublines, the text, the subtext will be in there added, and it'll make a description for you. Now, you can go and edit that if you don't like the title enough or you want to make it a little different, but then get this, it also ranks based on how viral it'll be.
I hope y'all are taking notes out there, because this is some great stuff that I didn't even know about.
So it'll rank it like, so for my friend Andy in the mastermind, I said, Andy, I'm going to blow your mind. I want to teach you about this tool. And I pulled it up in real time on our Zoom meeting, and we did a demonstration. And like the top video said, this is 99% that this will become viral. And he's like, oh my gosh, it has the title and everything. All right, so you're probably dying to know, Melanie, tell me already, what is the tool? You've told me everything it does, but I don't know what the tool is. So the tool is called Opus. Opus Pro is what you want to look for when you're Googling it, OPUS, and it will take any video, long form video, and splice it up automatically. And literally it takes like maybe, depending how long the video is, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And you have all these videos, you can download them, right, and then upload them. So you can even start a marketing agency with that tool alone if you want to do that. If you're a business owner, you can have someone in-house do it for you, that it doesn't take that much time. And like I told Andy today, his kids are pretty savvy. They're like in junior high, high school. I said, Andy, you could have one of your kids do this. He goes, oh my gosh, this would be perfect for one of my kids to do. So now I just took him hiring someone off of his plate, and he's going to have all of these videos he can create within minutes and then upload them and add them to his scheduler for that. So we talked about Jasper to improve your content. We talked about Opus, which I think is just an amazing, amazing tool. Let's dive into ChatGPT. That's the one that
everybody knows. I know that. I don't know about all that other stuff
right.
you're talking about. But.
So ChatGPT is, I just want to say you can use it for ideas. It's great to get content with, but be careful. And everyone's telling you, be so careful, this and that. So it's really a great for marketing tool, but I just tested this out. I thought, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a short little book of why, so many of our authors are deciding what they should write about. Should I write my personal story? Should I write my expertise on this? Should I write my expertise about that? And they usually have 4 or 5 ideas floating around in their head, and they can't decide. In our book, Strategic Writing System, we go through that with you to help you decide. But I thought I'm going to write a little book on that niche and see what it does. So I gave it what I wanted. It came up with the outline, and then I said, all right, write this chapter, and each chapter I want you to give me a real life experience of someone's story who wrote their book and had success, and then also give me some data to back that up. So it was spitting stuff out. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But then when I checked every single example, the person didn't exist, the company they worked for didn't exist, and their book didn't exist. And the data was made up. So you have to be very, very careful, because chat will just make stuff up if it doesn't know it. Now, the beauty of it is now I have an actual structure for each chapter. Like, I kind of gave it the structure, but now I can say, all right, now I'm going to put my authors' testimonials of how this worked for them and how they developed their story using our tools and strategies, and put that in there. But I'm going to do it even further. Like, what I've learned is asking that right question. So he got it wrong. ChatGPT didn't give me the right examples, but what if, and I haven't done this yet, what if I put one of our authors' names, like Donna Peters, in there and said, write an example of Donna Peters' book, here's the name of her book, and here's the name of her company. Will it spit out a real-life example, or will it make something up about Donna Peters? So, again, I think it's great for brainstorming. It's like your brain on caffeine when you're stuck or have writer's block. I think it's really great for that, but tread carefully to make sure that everything is right. And then my other tip is just keep asking questions. You didn't get what you wanted, so sometimes people will take that and then they'll go edit it. Instead of editing it, ask chat to edit it again. Keep fine-tuning and ask more and more questions.
I didn't know you could do that.
Oh, yeah. So say, I didn't really like this, make it lighter or change this around. So I've asked it, like, this was great, but can you write it for a 5-year-old? And then it simplifies because it's been like too corporate or too dry.
Wow.
So keep diving deeper and deeper into the questions, and it's all about the great questions. All right, now here's another Black Ninja tip that I'm going to give you. You
Black
ready?
Ninja tip.
It's a Black Ninja tip.
Okay.
So that means Black Belt Ninja tip. Okay, so what that is that when you're on a sales call, another tool we use all the time is called Otter. We use this to help transcribe when we're interviewing for books. So if you haven't heard of Otter, you can run it. You can talk to Otter. You can be on a Zoom call, you could have a podcast running, and it will transcribe everything in real time. So you're getting a document of transcription, but it also records the audio simultaneously, and it will give you a summary of what you talked about. So the secret tip is, if you're on a sales call, I know there's Fathom, but I still like Otter. I think it's better because then I can highlight things while it's going on. So I copy the sales conversation and I asked ChatGPT a question saying, I'm writing an email to Cathy to follow up from our appointment. And can you pull out the top topics talked about, the things that she wanted and was interested in, and bullet points of our next steps that we should make, that she should take. And then I copy and paste the Otter transcription from the sales call, and I put it in ChatGPT, and it writes an email for me summarizing the whole thing.
Now that is amazing.
That's
a big tip. I've used Otter, but I never did it to that extent.
Now, even to go one step deeper, like if you're interviewing or talking to someone who's well-known, meaning that, like, I have a bunch of podcasts out there, right? I have my voices out there. If you have someone their voice is out there and they've done YouTube videos or things like that, you can ask Chat to write the email in their tone of voice. Like I said earlier with Jasper, hey, can you write it like Ryan Reynolds? Ask them to write it in that person's tone of voice. So you've heard of mirroring before. So now you're mirroring how they talk and using some of the same language and words that they would normally use. So I think, I don't want to overwhelm you anymore, but if you just even get started with those, I think you're on the right track.
Well, let's just get to writing the book, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for all that. And the best-selling author is something I know when we were coaching that is really, really something you strive for with each of your authors. Can you just talk about that? Best-selling author.
Yeah, and what does it mean to be a best-selling author? So I tell people you're going to go through all this work and, and time and energy. Not that it's all this work, but it's your baby, right? That you're creating this, and it's part of you. And you're being vulnerable, that why not go the rest of the steps to do the marketing and do the publicity and hire a company that's going to make you a #1 best-selling author. And it's like you get that title for the rest of your life. And Cathy always likes to say, I'm going to tell everybody that you did this. And I go, I really don't tell people that I did this, but she was twisting my arm today. So just like I earned the title of Miss Michigan, I had that title of Miss Michigan forever. So when you become a best-selling author, a #1 best-selling author, you always have that title. And if you look at even really well-known people, I laugh like Stedman Graham, or even who's Oprah's husband. He gets introduced as a best-selling author. Some of women, or you might know Jamie Kern Lima. She started It Cosmetics. Many of us have used her cosmetic brand. So she sold her company for like $1.2 billion. You'd think that would be like the first thing people want to say. Creator and founder of It Cosmetics. I have watched multiple things about her. I've been to multiple events where she's been introduced to speak. And the first thing they say about her is best-selling author. Isn't that crazy? That's awesome. Because they think that has the most credibility as that best-selling author. And a lot of people I know are overwhelmed with creating a book, don't you think?
Absolutely. And just where do we start? And I think that's what some of your tips in this book are. This is Melanie's latest book, 2023,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Do you want to speak any more about this? Or?
Sure, yeah. The strategic writing system is just packed full of information that has so many things for you, not just to start to write your book, to get the ball rolling, but to have a purpose for your book, for your brand and your business and what you want to have that message say. Like I say, coming up with what you want to talk about. So if it's a business book, which I know a lot of the women here, right, that's your goal. We're in the Greater Women's Houston Chamber of Commerce because we want to brainstorm with other women and get to that next level. So I'm going to give you something, a great way to create content that's fast. It'll even work for social media or different things like that. So we call it the 10 by 10 by 3. And what this is, if you write down, you're like, Melanie, I want to write a book. I know I want to write a book, but I don't know where I should start. So start with what are the most frequently asked questions you get about your business and about yourself all the time.
Nice.
So you could even, literally, I've done this before. I set a timer for 3 minutes, and people will have written down almost 20 things of those questions. Then the other trick is, what are those should ask questions? What are the questions they should be asking you if they knew what you knew? So I'm going to give you an example using Cathy. So the other day we were talking about how we were selling our courses, and she's like, well, did you offer different price points? Or no, it was our book writing retreat.
Right.
We were doing a book writing retreat. She goes, did you offer different price points? That's what you should be asking me. And I'm like, no, I didn't know that. So it's like the question, because she knows that, right? She's the one that's thinking about that. There's not just the expertise that you have is different and the experience you have is different. Then once you have those questions, you're going to answer those questions. And it's easy to do it on video and talk them out, or have like a friend of yours, like Cathy, could come over, we could have coffee, and she'll be like, all right, I'm going to ask you all these questions, girl, and then you're going to give me the answers, and then we'll run Otter, have it transcribed, and that's the start of your book. So you'll give those answers, but then the 3 part is come up with stories that illustrate the answers. Don't just answer the question, right? So it's like, if it's real estate, where's the best place to buy in Houston? And we say, oh, well, if you're a doctor, then you should be in the medical area, blah, blah, blah. But then say, I had a doctor who was a client, and he was looking way out in Katy, and I thought that's so far away from if you're going to be in the medical center. And then give those examples of people that you worked with and testimonials and things like that really make it rich.
Yeah, we do say stories sell, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah, and that leads right into branding. Is there anything that, maybe the book talks about, or anything specific that you want to give some more great tips on?
And, we have struggled, Jen and I, who's the co-owner of Elite Online Publishing, she lives in Utah, that we have struggled with the personal brand and the business brand. And I don't know how many of you struggle with that.
I do.
And it's hard to be vulnerable to put yourself out there. So we went back and forth. Well, we really just wanted to, maybe it should be about us. And we're like, we don't really want it to be about us. So let's just make it like more corporate, and it's just our corporate that's out there, and more generic. And then the more we learned and the more research we've done, it's really about creating your personal brand. And the story I will tell you, I told you my background was in news and being on camera, and then I started as an auto show model in the day where you wore the sequin dresses and twirled around and traveled around the country doing that. But it was just so strange to me. I'm comfortable having someone by my side and interviewing me and asking me questions, and doing podcast interviews, like interviewing other people. But I had this really disconnect of putting that phone in front of me and talking where it was just me and the camera.
I think we have that. A lot of us have that.
Yeah, and it's really hard, and I get it. It's that vulnerability, like you're putting yourself out there, and am I going to get criticized, or it wasn't perfect enough, or it wasn't this, and this year is really the year that I've been stepping beyond that, and the shift in my mindset has been, I can erase it if I don't like it. Like, we forget about that. Like, if I don't like it, just erase it and do it again. But the
We're
more
so critical, aren't we, of ourselves as women, especially?
Yeah. Oh my gosh! And there's filters, and there's different things you can do, to do that to get it. And I find the more you use that muscle, the better it is. But I want you to think about whether you have your own company or especially if you're working for another company. Your personal brand is so important because if something happens to your industry or you lose your job, you take your personal brand no matter where you go.
Yeah.
Right? So we've even had this like with authors, like authors who publish traditionally, traditional published authors are promoting the book title but not the author. Because then they're like, well, if the author gets too big, then that means we're going to have to pay them more money for their next book. And they don't want to do that. So they don't promote the personal brand. So sometimes people don't even know the author. They just know the title of the book.
Yeah.
So you need to really build that personal brand. And I want to get that message out there. Just start making videos, start talking, start creating a brand for yourself. I worked with Larry Barton. He did a transition from his corporate that he had been in for 35 years and had a transition. And I had an opening on my podcast. I said, Larry, I know this is last minute, but can you be ready in 10 minutes and be on my podcast? He's like, okay. He got out of his...
I can see you doing that.
And he got out of his pajamas and got ready and did the podcast. And he's like, I didn't know I had a voice. And then I did a little bit of media training with him. And now his videos are getting 1,000 views for his videos. And he's just telling his authentic message of being positive. And it really doesn't even have a lot to do with real estate. But when someone gets to know, and trust you and they see you, they're like, oh, I want to work with that guy. Right? So I really want to reach out to you and empower you to start your personal brand if you haven't started already.
Well, and that leads right into networking and why you joined the chamber, right?
Yes.
You were inspired by someone at a breakfast or lunch, was it?
Yeah, Julie Flowers. I connected with her. She was a speaker at an event, and I thought, oh my gosh, she should have a book. She's so fabulous. And so we talked about that, and she's like, well, you should become part of the chamber. So she sponsored me, and that was just 3 months ago.
Wow.
And I'd been looking for a networking group of like-minded individuals, and I love that it's a women's group because we're women-founded, women-owned, and actually everyone who works for us is a woman.
And out of state.
And out of state, yes.
Yeah, none of her team is in the same state. And that's another online key to your empowerment of the future and sustaining your building, brand and into
definitely. Nowadays you can be from any, and we were doing this almost 9 years ago.
Yeah,
we were remote, and when remote wasn't popular or no one knew about how to be remote, and people would go, how do you do that back then?
Yeah.
But I want to do a shout out for the Greater Houston Women's Chamber because I'm a new member. At this time I've been a member for 3 months, and I have met some incredible women. I went to the Halloween party, which was over the top fun. I was like, oh my gosh, these are my people. The women were so energetic, so full of life and just encouraging and wanting to talk to you about your business. And they were very accomplished and business owners and CEOs. And from that, I had 2 meetings with women that I met there that I networked with them afterwards. So I've been to 3 meetings. I'm already on their podcast here. I'm already going to have an ad in the newsletter. So I've been parts of group where nothing happened. For a year, I've been part of a group and I didn't feel like I had any relationships. And the staff here has been just amazing and very engaging. So I really encourage you, if you're listening to this and you're not a member, to join, because it's really been eye-opening to me. And I just love that it's really women encouraging other women.
Yeah. And as far as involvement in the chamber, and is there another event you're really looking forward to, or you know that this is just what you want to do? Or
And I think when you join something, you have to, I made a commitment, I'm going to go to as many things as possible, because otherwise it doesn't work for you. You sign up for something. A lot of us do this. We buy a course or we do something, we sign up for it, and then we never go or never take the course. So I made a commitment that I want to go to as many things as possible. And their next event is coming up in February. I think it's a big awards dinner that they're having or event. So that'll be the next thing. And they also have events regionally. So down in Clear Lake, I think there's something, CATHY, the North Chamber. So they have these different and you can go to any of those.
Right.
You can drive to any of those events and network with any of those women, which I think really makes your circle bigger. And the thing that I think sets them apart is every woman was really curious about what I did, how they could help me, and I felt like I wanted to be curious back with them and how I could help them.
Yeah, and you've had a lot of experience about stepping out and being in the limelight and all
Yeah.
that. Anything that challenged you at one time when you were starting your business in marketing and branding yourself? I know you told us that one story, but any other challenges for those of
Yeah.
us that may be a little less?
And business goes up and down, right? So I love to say, I have this huge success story, which we've been in business for 9 years, which is a success in its own. But there have been ups and downs through that. And I think the key really to being successful is to pivot on a dime and be innovative and circle that, especially with AI came around. So at our team meetings, we're always saying, what's the newest innovation? What have you learned this week that we can be better? Because we always refer to you don't want to be Blockbuster, right? You don't want to end up out of business for doing that. But there's been times where we had somebody who decided they were going a different direction, and they did a chargeback to us, and that chargeback was huge, and we were like, oh my gosh, this could have crushed us. It could have put us out of business. But it's always looking at the solution. So I'm big of, this is where we are. Yep, this is the problem. Let's not stay in the problem very long. Let's start looking at all the solutions and take action. My one son always jokes, he says, Mom, you're the kitchen sink approach. I go, I know. I throw everything at the wall, see what sticks, and then, as Kathy would always tell me, measure, test, measure, test and measure.
Test
right?
and measure it, yes.
Did you test and measure that? Did that work? How well did that work? And then, and I would say Kathy was very, very helpful, because when I started with her, she had this whole checklist of what you should be doing with processes. And I think we had 20% check marked. But now I'm proud to say we have all of our check marks in there. But then the key to success, I think, is going back and reevaluating, even though you think you checked the box, we have an authors portal that we do and a marketing portal now because of Kathy that we developed. But then it's you can't just check the box. You got to go, is the portal relevant? Do we still have, all the content is still up to date? And then, how can we make it better? Now we're we should add videos in there. We should have more videos in there in that content. So it's always evaluating your process and doing a micro evaluation. Even we say, our authors intake form, how can we make that better, faster, smoother, and clearer for them? And always going back and reevaluating every process of your business.
And I know yesterday when we were kind of talking about some things here, we also talked about team. I've seen, Melanie, you've developed your team, and very diverse development, as they're all in different states. But, your communication with your team is huge, and you have weekly meetings. Anything you want to say about your team and sustaining them, because you have.
Right. And, we did, I'm really excited and proud to say that we did a Tony Robbins event and flew our whole team into Houston and did the UPW event with him. And they were here for a week. And they all stayed, they were at my house, and we wanted to be really close. And we had 12 people at my house, and Kathy came for a little while. But it just was something that we did all together. But I think it's really important that you do have that connection with your team and have those meetings on a regular basis.
Yes.
And then also, I'm a co-owner, so that Jen and I are meeting every week. And then we also started this year that we're doing a meeting on top of that every week, where we're going over stuff that we had bought or want to learn, and learning it together and spending 2 hours and going through, here's a new tool that we had. Let's dive deep into this and learn this. But I think it keeps it cohesive. And I was a communications major at Michigan State, and really it's so important about that inner office communications. You may have, offices in India. I don't know what industry you're in, but it's how do the different divisions and everybody communicate and talk to each other.
Yes.
So everyone feels like they're on the same page. Otherwise, you're wondering why, the marketing team is doing this and, the publishing team is doing this, and because they're not talking to each other.
As a coach, I've seen that over and over again.
Yes, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, well done. And, as we look forward to what you're going to be doing with the Chamber and people getting a hold of you, talk about a course bundle that you maybe would, advertise or bring forward today to them?
Sure. Like if you're thinking you're ready to write a book, we work with authors one-on-one. That's like our mainstay of what we do. We do concierge service, one-on-one service. And if you have ideas in your head and you're like, Melanie, I can't come to you with a finished manuscript, my hurdle is I don't know where to start. So one of the things we do on the high end is our VIP book creation day, where we spend a whole day with you and structure your book and get that clarity of how you should write your book, where to start, who your avatar is. And I have to tell you, everyone who's gone through that, they said, I feel like not only did I pay to get my book structured and about a third written, I also feel like I had a year's worth of business coaching at the same time and got clarity at the same time. So that's like our high level. But then I'm offering something special just for the chamber. We have a course on our book writing fast pass, our book launch course, and then our book on how to publish your book. And we're going to bundle those together, and we're offering them for like 90% off. So we're going to put a link in there for you, just special for the chamber, that you can access that.
Take advantage of it.
and get it going. And even if you feel like, hey, once you've got your book written or you want help, please reach out to us. We always can publish your book. We can help market your book. We've had even other publishing companies and authors hire us that are working with other publishing companies just to make them a bestseller and do the marketing because their publisher doesn't know how to do that. And if we have time, another time I can explain, if you want to get on a call with me, explain the differences between traditional publishing and self-publishing. And to reach us, go to eliteonlinepublishing.com. But we have a podcast, Elite Publishing. We have another podcast called Elite Expert Insider. If any of you feel like you're an expert in your field, reach out to me and we'll try and get you on our calendar. We're booked through spring right now, but we're still taking people through spring through the end of the year to get on our podcast. And if you'd like a meeting with me, and we have a YouTube channel, we're all over social media, so please reach out to us.
I think
Love
they
to
can
connect
even
with you.
see a TED Talk of you, right?
Oh yeah, and I did a TED Talk. Yeah, thanks. I forgot about. I was
That's one of the first
that.
things I remember about when I was Googling you, finding that TED Talk. And this book I'm going to take home today, right?
Yeah, sure. And this is available on Amazon, and everywhere books are sold, you can get the Strategic Writing System. That's a great way to start. Go look for that book. It's available at Target and Walmart, all online. And we encourage you to write your story, become a thought leader in your industry, and craft your personal brand by telling your story.
And all the benefits here at the Chamber. I really want to say I've been a Chamber member here and many other chambers that you got to be knowing your people and asking for help and empowering each other, right?
I heard a great example. I think it was by Mr. Beast. I didn't know who Mr. Beast was, but my son introduced me to Mr. Beast. He's like the biggest number one YouTuber. Like number one, huge. I'm like, how do I not know who he is? Well, anyways, he did this little talk that he said when he got started, he was trying to figure out like the best thumbnails to use for YouTube. And he said, he left his job and he was just all into YouTube, but he had 4 other friends. And he said, imagine like I'm trying to figure out the best thumbnail. So I put a thumbnail up and I test it and then I get some feedback. And then I put another thumbnail up like another week later. He goes, but imagine if you have 4 other people, there's 5 of you putting thumbnails up and you're all coming together and saying, this is what worked and this didn't work, that how much faster that happens. So you've 5x the speed of your success to get where you want to be. And I think that's what the Chamber can do for you because you're with all these women that want to empower you, that are sharing things like I did on artificial intelligence to help you move faster, better, stronger, that if you're with a group of like-minded individuals, instead of being by yourself, you're with this empowered group that's giving you all this knowledge that you're going to move up so much faster. None of us do it alone. So remember, find your group. This is such a great group of women that can help take you to the next level, and you're not going to be by yourself.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, we thank you all for joining us today and look forward to Melanie influencing a lot more of you out there and getting your books published. And I'm, like I said, it's on my bucket list. I haven't done it yet, but I'm looking forward to reading your book and maybe getting started.
Thanks, Kathy, and thanks so much to the Chamber. Really, really appreciate you. So happy to be a member here and be a part of this podcast and looking forward to hearing from all of you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again next Thursday at 6 p.m. For more information about the Chamber and our podcast, please visit us at GHWCC.org.